guys. So, some things right off the bat. Number one, I'm interviewing Ashley Amberger on this channel next week. It won't be posted for like 2 weeks, but most exciting thing ever. If you want me to ask her any questions in particular. Also, I'm sitting in my chair for the first time in like one of these videos and it makes a lot of noise. Just, gotta say it before someone's like, girl. Anyway, so, yeah, that's exciting. Very exciting. Way more exciting than my energy level is portraying right now. Much more. She's gonna be here. Let me know what questions you want me to ask. She is the badass. Also, pre-order her book, please. I'm gonna put a link below. She's great and you really need it. I have an advanced copy and it is, I think, one of the best books I've read in a long time. But I love her writing, so it's hitting me where it hurts. So that was the first thing. Second thing, anyone who pre-ordered Pipeline, I pushed it back 2 weeks. People were in my apartment fixing my roof for all of basically last week, and I'm a little behind now, so I need to catch up on a lot of stuff, and that just needs to get pushed back just a little bit, but I swear on my life it's coming, which is why a lot of this content is going to be copywriting related, client related, etc. So let's begin. I've gotten the question a few times on how a copywriting actual project plays out from start to finish. So, of course, they all look different. It depends on what platform you're using, if this is one-on-one with a client, etc., etc. But generally, they all follow a similar pattern. So, let's break this down while I drink coffee. So, a client will get into your sales funnel pipeline somehow, whether you're applying to them for a job, you're reaching out to them one-on-one, they come in through a referral, they find you through your site, somehow they get into your funnel where they might be your next client. So depending on how they get there, which I can cover in future videos on how to fill that, which is what also the ebook is for, pre-orders below. From there, I really dive into what really they're looking for, what they want, and why they think they need to hire me to fix this problem, because about half the time they're not often really looking for a copywriter, they're looking for a blogger, and sometimes I'll do blogs in conjunction usually with copy. I don't often just do blogs on their own unless they really want a lot of consistent work, but that's just me. So you'll find out whether a client is really looking for, or sometimes they're looking for a Facebook ads manager or a email specialist and not just the copy. Like they want someone to actually design the emails and format them, send them, set up autoresponders, all of that stuff. And I'm like, that's not my world. I don't do that. So I really narrow down what they're looking for and make sure that I have the skills and or desire to do the project. So from there, if the project is really big, they need a whole site rewritten and emails that help them lead up to a launch. I usually break it down by milestones at a time. One, so both parties can bounce out at any one of those project milestones. I like the freedom to do that. I don't really personally like to be locked in with a client for months and months of work if I don't know them yet. So usually once I get like through the first project, sometimes then I'm like, okay, great. This went really smooth. Let's make the next round larger. But usually I start out personally with a starter project of some kind or a first milestone or whatever. Also because I rarely do anything without 50% down. And at least 90% of the time I don't get the 50% down, I regret it so fast. So back to the other example, like if someone needs their whole entire site and email funnel basically written, sometimes I'll propose the homepage and the about page. Like, let's just break that down. Here's how much those cost. 50% up front. I do X amount of edits, usually 3, sometimes flexible, but usually 3 edits, because then after that, you didn't spend your entire life just editing back and forth with the client and then tear your hair out and realize they're milking all of your time. So you need a set time, and then if it goes beyond that, you want to start charging them by the hour. But so you agree on the terms. You're 50% down for the first project that you agree on together. Now, if you're new in the beginning of copywriting, it's very hard sometimes to get that 50% down because they don't know you. You're not reputable. You could just disappear off the planet. They have no idea. Still ask for it, like always, because it's business practice, and it'll kind of show that like you kind of know what you're doing and you know what you're talking about. Unless you're going with the angle of I'm gonna do this for free to build up my portfolio, then like great, you whatever angle you choose to do, but this is just how I do projects, so you know. Also, I'm at almost the end of the video, so I'm cutting myself off in the beginning here to also mention that I also do either phone interviews or questionnaires I want clients to fill out to get a real feel for the kinds of content they really like out there, what they want theirs to sound like, the overall tone they want it to sound like. And sometimes that's just words of like fun, engaging, professional, serious, to get a feel for what they want. And that will save you so many headaches down the line, because although you're thinking like, oh, she wants to sound like Oprah, that's the kind of vibe she wants to give, and then she comes back and she's like, no, I wanted to sound like, I don't know, Billie Eilish, is that her name? Billie, I don't know, some kind of like completely out of left field tone that you were not thinking of, that, and a different approach. So ask those questions in the beginning and you'll save yourself 1,000 hours of a headache. So for payment, I try and get clients to either use Stripe or Square, but I will do PayPal if I have to and they don't want to set up any of that, or they don't know how to, like, that's just too confusing for them. Anything really big, and I'm just going to basically force them to use the payment processors that I want. Sometimes clients want you to set up like an account with another auto whatever, and I will only do that if it's a lot of work and it's a lot of consistent work, because I just don't like having my banking account information in 50 different accounts for clients just because it's their software processor. It's not how I roll. Not a fan of it. I like to keep my things simple and straightforward. And like one day if I have a secretary who can manage everything and like, an accountant and all of that, then like they can deal with it, great. But I'm not there, and I like to keep my life simple and very straight to the point. So those are my favorites. And the reason for that is that PayPal has very, very loosey-goosey kind of terms and services on protecting people who offer services through PayPal. If you offer a product, like a physical product, sometimes they'll go to bat for you and they'll help you. But with services and digital products, they can kind of be the worst. So just keep that in mind. I don't know anyone personally, but I've been in the business enough to have heard so many horror stories about PayPal lost $10,000 away from me and blah, blah, blah. So FYI, just like, so I would at least set up Stripe and PayPal if I was a starting freelancer and give them the option of doing Stripe. I can't remember if Stripe has a worse fee than PayPal. I should know this right off the bat, but like sometimes I don't really look into the fee because I just write it off at the end of the year because it's a business expense. But yeah, so payment and then contracts. Usually, if we have fleshed everything out in email, sometimes, now I'm not a lawyer, but okay, like take this all with a grain of salt and do the research in your own city, state, country, okay? But in a lot of cases, if you have written everything out in an email and you've both agreed to it, it is a very, very, very loose contract that could stand up in court. Sometimes if you're talking to an assistant or someone else who's not like the head of the company, the person you're writing for, the whatever, it can get very gray. So you almost always want a contract. Now, I can say that with the privilege of having a handful of lawyers in the family. So I don't pay legal fees, really. I get all of my legal stuff done for me. So keep that in mind, that I am very loose on contracts because I have lawyers who will eat this person alive and I don't have to pay anything, really. So I can be a little more loose with contracts because I'm not going to pay $10,000 to get things settled, which is why I've never had a client really screw me like in that way, ever. I can only be that ballsy because of that. Now, for everyone else, if you do not have a lawyer, obviously, around, get a contract. Get them to sign it. There are a million digital signature company businesses out there, and even if it's, I don't know how much, there's a few free ones, depending on how many contracts you sign out. I have signed like every month or whatever, but for the most part, they're not that much, and it's worth it to... Now, of course, if the client screws you, you still have to, they don't really care about your contract. They're like, great, yeah, I signed that. And yes, your contract will help you in a lawsuit. But you want to avoid that at all costs, which is why you at least want 50% upfront. For the most part, clients who have paid me the 50% upfront do not go MIA after it's done. And that's also why I do milestones, because if they're unhappy and they're going to screw me, it's going to be because they owe me thousands of dollars and they're just like not happy. And that's why I'm like, okay, let's break this down into a project that is, for a first one, under $1,000 to work on together, see how it goes. And then if those two go smooth, almost always that client is great and they pay at the start and they pay at the end and it's great. You'll get a really good feel after you've been freelancing for a while, just in someone's like language, kind of, if they're going to pay you on time or not. You'll really get a gut feeling for it, especially once you've had some that are real shady. But if anyone's shady about the 50% up front, they're usually going to screw you on the back end. Just like experience. So FYI. Looking over here, people have asked about this and I wrote them all down, like from comments. So I just want to make sure I cover all the points. Refund policy. It really depends on the project. If I'm blocking time out of my schedule to fill in, because a client project, even a small one, can take a full week of my time. And if I'm blocking out that time and they decide last minute that they don't want to do it, well, now that I've blocked my time, I have now moved other projects, so you're gonna not get it all back. I mean, sometimes I'm not a monster, okay? People like get in car accidents, or there's a death in the family, or they have a job like offer and they gotta do, life. And I'm like, and I'm very flexible with like, okay, like let's just move it. Let's just move it to another day. Let's move it to another time if possible, because I've blocked all this time, and life happens. And it's same, hi, hello. I just had people come in out of nowhere and like have to tear my roof open and then put it back together. So that was a really fun time. And my clients, bless, are the nicest people on planet Earth. And we're like, okay, cool. Yeah, of course. And we just like move things around. So refund policy, very dependent on the project and the person and the amount put down and what they want. Once I've done the work, you're not getting your money back. I've done the work. This has been blocked on my time. I'll fix it anytime. I will edit it. I will do this, but I did the work. It's not like a product that you received and you were like, I'm unhappy with the product, and then you switch and send it back, and then it's my time. I'm selling my time as a freelancer and my experience and my everything. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I mean, thankfully, okay, and I can talk with this big ego because it doesn't happen that often. Every now and then I'll get a client who's like, nah, but I do so much preliminary work in the beginning that I really get a feel for what the client wants. So then when I deliver, it's not like a shock or it's not a left field. It's exactly what they're really looking for. I send it over, usually on Google Docs, because I like to collaborate sometimes online. Sometimes we'll even go over together and talk it through. I just like Google Docs. Anyone who sends me a Word document, I'm like, oh, is this 1998? I don't, that's just my preference. And for the most part, almost every client, cool with it, gets it, great. So I send it over because I don't do design and I don't do those things. So I'm not sending something fancy. It's just a doodle dot. I am just selling words, and that's how I sell it, and however you want to format it and whatever, like, that's on you. Sometimes I'll work with the designer in collaboration for the business. Just the designer's like, this is how much space you have. This is this. Like, they're setting it up, and we work together. But for the most part, unless that happens, then I'm like, that's on you. Here are the words. Put them on the site, and it should do great. So, so that's it. We wrap up the work. We agree it's done. They send me the final half of the deposit, and then they did the copyright transfer on that final payment. I do not transfer copyright until the final payment, because then all of that written work is mine. So if you put it up on your site before you've paid me what you owe me, I can take your site down because that is my content, and now you're in copyright violation. Sue me, bitch. Like, so it's complicated, but you can do these things if you're serious and you keep track of things. Now, sometimes I've had, especially when I was younger, clients screw me for like $50 articles and stuff. That's too much work. It's too much work to go hunt them down. And what I have done as a petty human, as a freelancer, which is just fun if you feel like doing this ever in your life, because a client screws you, I have a whole site dedicated to unpaid articles from clients, because fuck your SEO, and now you will get a duplicate whatever Google hit, because I published it on my site. I don't know, it's probably like 10 pieces ever that are just sitting there. No, I'm not gonna link it. I don't need y'all to go find them and like destroy their lives. I just do it because I'm like, screw you. And then I dare them to get it taken down, or is like, I just, I'm like, publish. And the site is literally told, like, I wasn't paid for this shit. I mean, it wasn't told that, but like, basically, of like, yeah. So if you came across this from another thing, then like, you can know that this person's a horrible person. And I just sometimes let it go, because also keep in mind, when clients screw you, it is a tax write-off. Technically, I'm not the IRS. Don't come for me at the end of the year. It's bad business debt. And then always, I pitch next project ideas based on what I know about their business, based on other things I think we could do together. There's always ideas that you can come up with, even if it's just helping them tweak all of their sites and emails after a launch. Just, like, hey, I have this consulting fee, or whatever it is, however you want to handle it, or your next launch, or this, or your next webinar, etc. Or I pitch next project and referrals. I ask for referrals all the time. Sometimes I offer a referral deal depending on X, Y, and Z. It makes them look good, because then they can refer you to other people, and they're like a connector, and they like know someone, So that's pretty much it. Start to finish, how a copywriting project goes. Pretty straight, simple, forward. Yeah. Pretty straightforward, simple. If you have any other questions on how they work and how they flow, feel free to just leave them below. And also, let me know what you want me to ask Little Ash, because that's so exciting. I can't wait. Okay, that's it. Bye, guys.